Welcome back. Today's topic, a cue that could help you with all of your lifts. Now, how is that possible? You ask yourself, how could there be a cue that's going to help me with every single one of my lifts? Well, it's possible, so stick around. But first, let's talk about specifically what areas of a lift is this cue going to be useful in. Now, specifically, we're going to talk primarily about the squat and the deadlift, but also this cue can even be useful on the bench press, on the press, even snatches, cleans, jerks. This cue is specifically going to be useful at the beginning, at the start of a lift. So if you're making an error at the beginning of a lift, it's possible that this cue might just be the thing to help you out. Let's talk about a couple examples. If you're talking about the squat, if you tend to break at the hips before the knees, in other words, if your knees are bending late, this cue can be useful. Also on the squat, some people have a little bit of a tendency to kind of have a little bit of an up-down before they start the movement. In other words, right as they start the movement, instead of descending right away, they kind of pop up their heels or one of their heels just a little bit before starting their descent. If you're talking about the start of the deadlift, if you tend to yank the bar off the floor, if you tend to try to jerk the bar, which tends to cause people to raise their chest prematurely, it tends to cause people to drop their hips, shoot their knees forward, and scoot the bar forward. This cue can be useful. However, like I said, it can also be useful on the bench press, on the press. If you tend to pop your shoulders up just before going down, in other words, watch your bench press carefully the next time. The next time you start a bench press rep, if that bar goes up even just a little bit before it starts to descend, this cue can be useful. You don't want that bar going up first, you just want it going down. On the press, if you tend to wind your hips up, in other words, if you tend to push your hips backwards before pushing them forward, that's a problem that this cue can help with. With the snatch and the clean, likewise compared to the deadlift, if you tend to yank that thing off the floor, you want a better, a smoother, a more deliberate start to the lift. It can't be slow, of course, but it's got to be deliberate. You don't want to yank it off the floor, so this cue can be useful there as well. All right, you're saying, let's get around to the cue. What am I talking about? As with a lot of things, the cue will be a little bit underwhelming, but the execution of it is extremely important. It's extremely useful. The cue is quite simply smooth start. So let's talk about how do we use this on the squat. If you tend to pop your heels just a little bit, remind yourself, smooth start. It gives you a chance to think about starting the rep smoothly. So you're not going to do a little bit of a hop up off of your heels before starting the rep. A close cousin of this is slow start. You can also use that cue as well. But as we'll talk about in a couple of these lifts, slow start doesn't work for everything, but smooth start does. If you tend to yank the deadlift off the floor, smooth start. Remind yourself that the lift needs to start smoothly, not with an explosive yank off the floor. On the bench press, if you tend to pop the bar up just a little bit, watch your shoulders. If they tend to kind of come out of place, out of that nice retracted position that you had them in, cue yourself smooth start. The bar should only go down. Likewise on the press, smooth start. It's going to help you not wind that thing up. You can try slow start on the press. However, while that might still be useful on a heavy squat, you remember this with the cue slow start and smooth start, you're just talking about the first couple inches of the movement. So it's not going to be slow after that, but the press has to be pretty quick with that hip movement right away. So if you're cueing yourself slow start on the hips movement for the press, that's probably a cue that's only going to work when the weight is lighter. You're going to have to speed that thing up. And that's why I said smooth start will always work. Slow start only works sometimes. Wrapping things up, likewise with the snatch and the clean, smooth start off the floor. When you're learning the lifts, slow start can be very useful to make sure that you're getting that nice knee extension off the floor. However, as you get better at snatching and cleaning, as those weights get heavier, you have to start accelerating it right away. So slow start is not going to work very long, but smooth start will always help you not yank that bar and pull that bar smoothly off the floor so that you can stay tight, so that you can start accelerating that bar with that rigidly held back. As always, we hope this helps you get stronger and live better.